Welcome back to Balance of Power on Bloomberg TV and radio. Alongside Joe Matthew, I'm Kaylee Lyons. And that's part of a campaign by Empowering America's Parents, a new policy group launching a multi-million-dollar media blitz heading into the midterms, supporting the Education Freedom Tax Credit, a scholarship program to promote school choice that was created by last year's One Big Beautiful Bill. The group was launched by former Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia, and he's joining us now in our D.C. studio. Governor, welcome to Bloomberg.
Great,
it's good
to be with you. Thank you for having me, and thanks for really shining a bright light on this critical topic, which is education freedom for families all across the country, simply enabled by governors opting in.
Well, so talk to us about what it is they would be opting in here and whether this would in some way detract from public schools.
Yeah, well, as you said, as part of President Trump's Working Families Tax Cut Act, the education freedom tax credits were enabled, and they unlock state-by-state scholarship opportunities where if you want to support scholarships in Virginia, because I opted in, I was the first governor to opt in, then you can donate up to $1,700 and get an immediate full tax deduction from your federal return. And those scholarships can then be used for tuition, they can be used for tutoring, they can be used for equipment, they can be used for transportation, they can be used for families that have a developmentally disabled child who need extra services, students who are going to private school, but also students in public school. And it's funded by private donations and a tax credit. And therefore, it doesn't take a single dollar away from state education funds. And in fact, it's additive to it. And so there's really no reason why a governor would not opt into this. And we have 30 states that have opted in, but we have 20 that haven't. And the 20 that haven't, I believe, are putting politics in front of the needs of their citizens, because these scholarships can be life-changing. And therefore, I'm asking governors across the country opt in. And we're going to work through Empowering America's Parents to educate American citizens and families that this is available to them, but they need to reach out to their governor and tell them to opt in.
So where are the politics here? Why are people saying no? Is this being seen as a glorified voucher program? What would be the opposition?
Well, the primary opposition comes from the teachers' unions, because they don't want to see anything damage the monopoly hold that they have on education today, when in fact they should be for this. Because it not only, yes, provides opportunities for private school tuition for families that otherwise couldn't afford it, but it provides also funds and scholarships for students in public school. And the bottom line is, the way this is structured, that over 90% of America's students would be eligible. I mean, this is as close to universal school choice as we can get. And the idea that it takes money away from public education is just wrong. And therefore, we should start telling the truth. And governors should opt in and not put politics in front of their kids.
Well, I have to ask you, as you are clearly focusing a lot of your political capital on this initiative at a time when the country is at war. It's fueling higher gas prices. People have affordability challenges that they often talk about, from gas to groceries to health care. Why is school choice such an important issue? Well,
first of all, affordability is the top issue in voters' minds right now. And I understand why. I mean, listen, the Biden-era inflation that was unleashed on our nation has had a long tail. And it still presents itself at the grocery store and lots of other places. And, of course, with crude prices that have been elevated because of the Iran conflict, we're seeing gas prices elevated as well. But now we see them coming back down. And of course, oil prices today are around $75, and we're seeing gas prices come back down. And I think the work that is being done by Kevin Warsh will also translate into really de-inflationary kinds of policies. And as a result, I think we're going to see coming into the fall, a real opportunity for us to celebrate the strong economy that we have, but also recognize that this concern about affordability is real. Now, affordability also translates itself into how am I paying for my child's either tuition at a private school or for the things they need to go to public school. And education is a huge issue in voters' minds. 75% of voters say that K through 12 education is one of their top 3 issues when they vote. Of course, affordability is the top one. And so here's a chance for us to really push for governors to opt into a program that addresses 2 real issues for voters. Affordability, because it provides scholarships that don't cost their state anything in an area that they really care deeply about, of course, which is the education of their children.
Well, so you're speaking to affordability in a very compelling way. The president is actually speaking to it right now in Las Vegas by way of the One Big Beautiful Bill and no tax on tips, where this very program that we're talking about was born. But he's also said that Republicans have won on affordability and that it's a Democrat hoax. Is that not the right view?
Well, I think what we all know is that the record inflation that was unleashed during Joe Biden has a long tail. And the Democrats have done a really good job of trying to convince Americans that the economy is failing. And therefore, what a lot of people are seeing every day, which is, of course, elevated prices resulting back from 2 or 3 years ago.
But you had a tariff regime and a war in the Middle East, and they're ever higher.
Yeah, well, I think what we've demonstrated first is that the war in the Middle East is a real impact on fuel prices. And we know fuel prices are a major contributor to prices and everything else. Crude's a meaningful input into most manufacturing processes. And, of course, transportation costs for every good that's transported around the country. And so as gas prices went up, of course, we've seen some upward pressure on inflation.
Sure.
And I think as gas prices come back down, we're going to see this inflationary pressure relieved, and we're going to see prices abate. This is what we've seen time in and time out when it comes to gas prices moving up and down. And that's why I think it's so important today for us to recognize the underlying economy is really strong. Listen, the GDP print that was at 1.5% in the last quarter was really masking incredibly strong growth in consumer spending and in business investment. And the only detractor from it was, in fact, large inputs of machinery and tools that are going into all the factories that are being built all over the United States. And so I think we also see, as Secretary Bessent said earlier, a real opportunity for real strong GDP growth in the back half of the year as the record exports that we had in the second quarter are actually going to take charge over imports. And I think we're going to see GDP very strong in the back half.
Well, you mentioned factories being built. It's not just factories. It's also data centers. This is obviously something that Virginia knows very well. Data Center Alley is not too far away from us now. And I wonder, as a former governor, how you're viewing the current debate around the proper approach policy-wise to data centers and regulating their development. We saw a moratorium put in place in New York by Governor Hochul, but this seems to be bipartisan. Governor Abbott yesterday says that no data centers in Texas are moving forward until an audit is completed. What's the right approach here?
So the data center debate is a real debate around issues that matter a lot to voters. And so my first approach on the data center debate is it needs to first take place at the local level. Because at least in Virginia, and I can't speak for how it works in every other state, the localities are where data centers are approved. So I've always felt that local governments, county supervisory boards and city councils should be where these decisions are taken for the zoning and all the appropriate permitting for a data center in the locality. And if a locality doesn't want it, well, then they shouldn't take it. I think, second of all, the issues around power are real issues. And the president has gone to work to push all of the developers to put power behind the meter. And in Virginia, when I was governor, we actually passed a bill that I signed that enabled our regulatory authority to create customized rates so that large users of power would pay more. And appropriately so, pay more, because they're the ones who are using large amounts of power. I think these kinds of developments are really important. Listen, there's a lot of money that's going to be invested in the data center community. And
Is there too much money?
Well, supply chains come with it. And, one of the things that I have wanted to just make sure I correct the record on is there are a lot of jobs that do come with data centers, a lot of them. And some of them are missed because it's the supply chain that comes into it. Everything from the power supply equipment manufacturers and the HVAC equipment manufacturers and the folks that put the racks and stacks together and the service companies. It's tens of thousands of jobs in Virginia. And so this debate is not one we should dismiss. And in fact, I strongly have advised government leaders and, of course, the business leaders to engage with communities and listen to their concerns. And it's upon them to actually provide good answers. And if they can't get those answers, then the communities are going to say no. And this is what this is all about. They should not be forced on communities because communities should have this final say. But it is incumbent on the developers and the hyperscalers to recognize that there's real pushback, and they got to go to work in order to address some of these major concerns.
That's fascinating to hear from you, especially knowing Virginia was the data center capital. Maybe it still is. Keep your governor's hat on, but put your old Carlisle hat back on as well. The question that Kayleigh followed up on there's a real concern in the market that this is the late 90s all over again. You were in Virginia when AOL was the biggest media company in the world. We were laying fiber everywhere, building all those data centers. And then there was obviously a few difficult years after that as we digested all that spending. Does that rhyme with what's happening now?
Well, my personal view is that the investment decisions that are being made around data centers are directly tied to revenue streams that are coming off the back end.
Yeah.
And so this is infrastructure. This is infrastructure that's required for national security in order to make sure that we can enable our successful competition with China.
Yeah.
But it's also infrastructure that comes with contractual counterparties. And that means that these data centers particularly have revenue that meet their investment needs. I mean, that's the core to any investment decision. Now, if you're building things and with hope, build it and they will come mentality, sure. Well, then, you may have some challenges. But the vast majority of the data center development is coming with contractual obligations in order to use the compute that's there. Let me just get back to the core issue, though. The core issue is that many, many Americans are concerned. Mm-hmm. And therefore, we need to go to work to discuss these concerns and address them. And if there are concerns around water, let's talk about it. And let's make sure that we're taking care of our water resources. If there's concerns around power, let's make sure that we have rate constructs that demand that our data center hyperscalers are paying a much higher rate because they're using much more power, and that they're bringing their own power when they can. But let's do this in a constructive way where we have this dialogue with community members so that they can reflect their views eventually in who they elect to represent them in their local governments.
Well, and we certainly are seeing this as a live issue in this midterm cycle, and in 2026. We've heard a lot about it across our conversations across the country. I would imagine it very well could be in 2028 as well. And we have to ask you about 2028, Governor, because I'm sure you're well aware that people are wondering if you will eventually throw your hat in the ring to run for president. President Trump suggests that he likes J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, and potentially there could be a Vance-Rubio ticket in the offing. Would you rule out running against a chosen taker of the mantle?
Yeah, I've been asked this a lot, and I've answered it the same way every time, which is I don't anticipate being on the debate stage. Somebody just asked me in an interview, is this about 2028? I said, no. Jerry Baker asked me in an interview recently when I was with someone who's clearly running on the Democrat side, will we see you both in the debate stage? I said, no. I'm really focused on issues that I believe translate into better futures for Virginians and Americans. And education right now is one of those most important topics. Listen, K through 12 education in America is broken. We know this. We have literally 60 to 70% of our young students who aren't proficient in reading and in math. We see this declining as opposed to improving, as many, many states are actually reducing expectations for their kids in order to tell a lie to their parents that they're doing well. And meanwhile, they can't read and write. This is the travesty of K through 12 education. And this is why we have to unleash school choice like we are, but we also have to fundamentally transform our public education by raising expectations of excellence, by providing multiple pathways for students so that they can pursue their passion and maybe get an industry-recognized credential right out of school and go to work in one of these great fields. In Virginia, we drove that in a big way to the point where we had 90% of our students who graduated with an industry-recognized credential. I mean, this is hugely enabling for students. But on top of that, we got the cell phones out of school. We had record investments into teacher salaries and budgets. It takes all of this, but we have to enable parents to be at the head of the table. And when we do that and we focus on transforming public education, I think we have a shot of transforming our education system from the failure that it is today to a successful education system that unlocks the dreams of our kids.
I feel like a speech like that would be noticed in 2028. I don't know about you.
Just point of clarity. No, not on the debate stage in 2028 or ever.
Well, that's what everybody keeps asking me, and I keep answering it the same way over and over and over again.
Okay.
And so, again, again, this issue is one for the here and now.
Yeah.
Governors have to opt in by January 1st, 2027. So they literally have 4+ months to get moving. And that's why places like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan and Arizona, where we have Democrat governors with citizens who want this, who haven't opted in, they should feel the pressure from their citizens to opt into this great program that provides these great scholarships.
He just worked in some swing states also. You know, it's a problem when they stop asking you about 28, right? You don't mind if we go there. Thank you.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I am really humbled every time we have this discussion, but I've been consistent from the day I was elected as governor.
Yep.
You know, there are really important issues at hand, most important issues at hand. And one of the things I deeply respect about Vice President Vance is he is saying to everybody, focus on 2026.
Right.
Please focus on 2026. Because, listen, what we've seen, of course, is what we saw in Michigan last night, where the Democrat Party is waging a battle for its very soul. And you see socialists winning it.
Yeah.
And now you have a socialist candidate for Senate in Michigan, and you're about to see
He's not a member of the DSA.
But you see what he espouses, and I think this is once again reflective of the effort of far-left candidates to present themselves as moderates when, in fact, we know they're not. And look at Abigail Spanberger. I mean, she campaigned as a moderate in Virginia, and on day one, she moved hard left. And Virginians don't like it. I mean, she has the lowest approval ratings of any governor in modern time in Virginia because it was a bait and switch. And that's what we're going to see out of these far-left candidates who then try to pretend that they're moderates so they can get elected, and then they're going to turn around and govern just like he has said over and over again. And we're going to see Francesca Hong nominated on Monday or Tuesday in Wisconsin as a governor's candidate, and she wants to get rid of Thanksgiving. I mean, come on. This stuff is really, really crazy stuff, and I think it's a chance for Americans, Republicans, Independents, and Democrats to come together and say, we're going to stand for the basic belief system of this nation. We're going to disagree on things. We're allowed to disagree on things, and we can disagree without being disagreeable all the time. But we have to stand for the principles that make America, America, and not let the socialists actually take over not just the Democrat Party, but America.
Well, thank you for weighing in on that. You know we're just playing with you on the
No,
It's good to see you. Stay in touch with us throughout this midterm cycle and let us know how the program's going with the remaining 20 states. That's, of course, Glenn Youngkin, the former governor of Virginia. Coming